Hey y'all, what's going on? It's your Coach Garfield. Just wanted to take a moment just to touch base on. I guess it's been over a week now, and I've been kind of reading a little bit on this article about this this young wrestler in New Jersey who got his locks chopped off, and there's been quite an uproar on it. I'd actually done a video on this earlier, and then I don't know, for some reason it didn't record, it didn't upload. Who knows? So yeah, being that wrestling is it's been an integral part of my life now for more than half my life, and the topics kind of relate to me. I'm a black male. I got black boys at home. And it combined that with wrestling, and so anyway, I wanted to kind of drop my little piece on it. I don't know who's gonna see this or how many people are gonna see it or whatever, but anyway, I just felt like I need to just get some stuff off my chest. Whether you agree or disagree, that's your thing. I know that there's probably a lot of people out there who want to get stuff off their chest. I mean, I'm reading through a lot of the threads, and I can see people who are, people have a lot to say about this. Just missed that. And I think I want to actually, was one of my former wrestlers who said that, I need to do a lot more content. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna kind of move. I used to do a lot more of it, and then I kind of stopped. So I want to take some time. I know I've been really busy doing other things, so I want to take some time and kind of start doing that a little bit more. I want to provide more, especially for parents with black youth and who are involved in sports, a little bit more of a guidance and kind of how the how-to, as far as development, because that's been my expertise for the last 15, 20 years in the realm of development. And it doesn't matter what sport. I mean, the techniques, you can figure out whatever technique that works well for you and your sport or whatever the deal, but the principles of development stays, they never change, right? So I definitely gonna start doing a lot more of those. And anyway, so let's roll kind of into the topic here. It's early in the morning. For some of you, if you don't really know by now, so there was this. It was in New Jersey. I believe it was the finals of a high school dual meet tournament that was going on, and so this referee before the match of this young wrestler, he basically gave him the option, like, hey man, you gotta either get the proper headgear, or I guess by that time he had said that there is no proper headgear, so you either cut the hair or default the match because you can't wrestle like that. And so that's kind of and then the kid chose, being an athlete, being true to athletics. He just said, hey, you know what, can't let my team down, I gotta win this match. The hair can go. So heat of the moment, made that decision, and you've seen the videos, you've seen pictures. Some of you have, some of you, if you haven't yet, you can go and check this out. You can Google it. But so the young man, he decided that he was gonna cut his hair. And whether it's a wrong decision or not, everybody has their own opinion on it. But anyway, it sparked off a huge conversation, especially in the wrestling world. And really, the conversation, it's sparked off more because of I guess the race issue. So you have an older white man who's in a power of authority, who's had a history of saying comments that were I guess they were racist, and then so you have this older white male in the power of authority, and you have this young black male, and he's basically told him, you cut it, or so it was a lose-lose situation: cut your hair or forfeit the match. So that's really the gist of it. And so the kid decided to do it, and obviously at the end of the match, you can see where he's kind of like, in his mind, there's some type of regret there, I would assume. just by his body language and everything else. I haven't really seen anything. I know the parents have released a statement. I personally would like to, kid, I mean, you're 15 years old, man. Like, I'm sure you can say something, but I guess there's a lot of legalities going on right now. So, hey, you know what? But I personally would love to hear from this young athlete, like his, kind of his perspective on the whole entire thing and why I chose, most people are basically saying, look, you kind of put this kid in a position where he's young, he just couldn't make the decision. And, shout out to Jordan Burroughs. I know he kind of stepped up and he basically called out the adults that were around him and said, hey, listen, like you kind of let this kid down, right? Which is, it's not as black and white, funny, black and white, but it's not as cut, like clear black and white as it is, as we want to think it is. And I say that, I kind of say that with a grain of salt, because I've been involved in the sport for so long that I've seen people, like I've seen white boys having to do. I've seen white girls cut their hair. It's just the same, right? Now, I mean, not at match site, but basically like to make weight or whatever the deal. I think people have to shave. You either clean yourself up. These are the rules: clean yourself up, or you can't compete. So yeah, so that was so it's not as clear cut. I guess until we hear from I guess his name is Andrew, until Andrew kind of speaks up and says, hey, this is kind of what went on my end, or the coaches speak up and say, hey, here's how it actually went down. We're kind of we're kind of in the dark about the whole entire thing, but it's easy enough right now. What's a hot topic of the day? What's a trend? What's going on right now? What's kind of making news everywhere? It's right now, the whole race issue is just blowing up all over the world. So, that's what it is. Now, I have a lot of people that I've seen, people that I respected. They've made comments on it. They made videos. People have they've said what they said. So I'm going to say my piece on the whole entire thing, because I feel that, I'm in a position where I could be able to say it. First off, you know what, right now, not even right now, if you're involved, okay, let's do it. I'm going to do it from the perspective of like the wrestling world. How many people out there, if I brought, and I'm talking about Canada and the US, if I brought 1,000 referees, okay, let's make it the simpler number, 100 referees, and line them up, what percentage of those referees would you say are racist? Like, what percentage? It's up to you. I mean, I don't feel like I have a number. I know for sure at least 10%. Right? I've had to confront quite a few racist officials, whether as an athlete, definitely as a coach multiple times. And so yeah, they are. On the flip side of that, man, there's some good people out there, white, black, brown, yellow, that are, on the other end, that definitely balances that out. So yeah, okay, it is a problem, right? We do have a problem. The one thing is, I say, in our sport, and I've always fought for this, like, the goodness of our sport is that when we identify it, we need to flush it out, right? Like, if we really want to be straight up about the whole racist thing, or racism, or whatever you want to call it. Like, I try not to use the word racism because I kind of really know the meaning of it, and but just on a perspective that we, a level that we all can understand it, we'll just use the word racism. But if we really want to flush this cancer out, when we find it, just like in the medical field, right, we got to, get rid of it. And the problem is that we don't. So this referee, he had done something, he said something, he didn't do the Kevin Hart, he didn't apologize. But he had said some things in the past that, he kind of let it out there, let it be known that this is kind of my view on things. Which, it didn't get snuffed out, it didn't get taken care of. And of course, here it is. It reared its ugly head. So yeah, we all know in the sport of wrestling that it exists. It's not a protective world, right? I mean, it's the same thing. If you're a wrestler and you go into another country, regardless of your skin color, you have to deal with nationalism, right? On the referees end. So in this case, yeah, you know what? We find it. We need to snuff it out. Now, you know, outside of that, let's say that this referee had not had that history, right? Outside of that, we can start to look at now the coaching and things like that, because if the deal is that we're going through skin check and everything else, and this is kind of where if problems are found, then you're not allowed to wrestle. You got to fix them. The other thing is this kid had wrestled multiple matches. It wasn't like his first match. Like, you know what I mean? Like his hair didn't grow overnight, and so when you see the kid wrestle, it's not his first match. It's not his first year. So in the sense of what, go back to what Jordan Burroughs said, coaches, parents, whoever adults that were around, you kind of failed this kid. You got to step up and say, listen, it's not this kid's first match. Like this, and a lot of people from the wrestling community have said the same thing. Like, this should have been dealt with before the tournament. Like, this is not something that gets dealt with in the very last duel, right? This is something that you deal, and I think that's also where people are saying, yeah, you know what, to this referee, you are racist, and what you're doing is that this is a racist act, because this is the final duel. This isn't something that he just walked in. This is the very first match, and you're saying, hey, look, I don't care what happened before in other tournaments. You're not going to do that here. You need to fix this up. So that's kind of where that is, and a lot of people in the community are like, some people are like, yeah, well, what the heck, man? Like, I've had to cut my hair too. This is not a big deal. It's not a race thing, and so forth. And you know what? At the end of the day, it might not be. And some people made some good points, like, hey, you know what? Rules are rules. Like, this is a rule, and regardless of what the situation is, this is the rule. It just so happens that, hey, you know what? You just happen to be a black kid, and he just happens to be an old white guy. But rules are rules. So that's what I mean by, like, it's not as clear, it's not as like black and white as people want to make it out to be, because if it was like something that happened, like, I don't know, they were in the washroom or something like that, and he looked at his hair and said, look, you gotta cut that hair, or you gotta do whatever, but you can't wrestle like that. You gotta go find some proper, you know what I mean? Then that's a different situation. But the rule is, people are saying, look, these are the rules. This one guy, maybe all the other guys didn't enforce it, but this one guy stepped up and said, yeah, I'm going to enforce it. And I also, too, that's where people are kind of saying, well, dude, come on, man. Like, you can't let your racism shine like that at this particular stage. Now, as the adults failing, yeah, I mean, it was Ruben Leon. I was reading his comments on it, and he was making a, kind of talking more to the coaches and kind of questioning the I don't know the coaches. I don't know anything about really the coaches, but he kind of, he's kind of pointed and say, look, looks like a young guy with not a lot of experience. Basically saying that, hey, if it was my athlete, I would have stepped up. I would have understood the rules. I would have fought for him a little bit more. Some people are saying, hey, he should have boycotted the match. Coaches should have boycotted the match. Yada yada yada. Regardless, it didn't happen. But coming from a coach, like, I've coached for almost 20 years, man. Like, me in that situation, there's absolutely no way. Especially dreads. Like, there's absolutely no way that would have happened on my end, because I'd be going back to what a lot of you guys are mentioning, that, listen, like, we went through all of this, all the medical stuff in the beginning. We've wrestled X amount of matches up to this point. This is the headpiece that he's always worn. It has never been a problem up until now. So what is the actual problem? So yeah, I would have, coach, you probably never, this coach, Andrew's coach will probably never see this video, but you really should have stepped up and did what a development coach should be doing right then and there, which is to protect your athlete, man. Like, you got to step up, and if you say, look, we got to lose this one, and I don't know the conversation that you and Andrew had previous to, you might have said, hey, look, listen, to Andrew, like, look, you got dreads. There might be a point where you're gonna get challenged on it to wear a proper headpiece and so forth. And I've seen a lot of things out there. I mean, I saw I can't remember who it was that they put two pictures beside each other. They put Andrew's picture and they put Ben Arskin's picture beside each other, and it was like, hey, look, headgear. And then some people were like, well, college rules are different than high school rules. But at the end of the day, coach, you got to step up a little bit and fight a lot more for your athlete. As any coach, especially with young athletes, your main priority is that athlete. It isn't to win the match, right? It isn't to that it's your athlete first and foremost, and to protect and provide for those athletes. So in general, like I remember I was coaching down at the Northwest Regionals, and I was lucky that the squad that I always took to the Northwest Regionals, they were studs, man. And so they dominate. Like Amr Desi, right? Who's right now ranked 285 NCAA Div 1. He was one of the athletes I took there, and he won. How many times did he win that? I think he won it 3 times. So these guys are out there just kicking butt, right? I mean, him and his brother, Parm Desi. And so a referee had come up to me and said, because at the time, believe it or not, I had dreads, bearded up, and so it was a black referee. He'd been around the sport for a long, long time, much older than myself. And so he came to me and he pointed something to me. He just said, hey, you know what? Something about I can't remember if it was the Hebrews or the Israelites or whatever. When they're in Rome, they kind of recognized that the Romans didn't like beards, so they shaved their beard. Now, for me at that time, I was like, cool, okay, I get what you're saying, that somewhere along the line I stand out and I'm going to catch some type of backlash because of how I look. And he'd been around long enough to know that you got to kind of conform. And I was just like, what? Hell with you. I'm not conforming. My guys are going to rip it up. If that's going to come back on us, then so be it. I'm not conforming, right? That's just me. That's just who I am. I wasn't put in a position where it was like one point we had to debate on it, and it was one of those racist referees. I was lucky enough that I had a squad that was good enough that I was not in that position, right? They were attacking people pretty much. Segue into what I want to say next is this young man and his dreads. I think one of the big problems that's happening that I see personally, right? So, and it goes back to why I cut my locks, is that the dreadlocks have become a fashion statement more than it is for what it's supposed to be. Like, you grow your dreads, you're a soldier, right? It's no different than me if putting on a turban and beard and the whole bit and wearing a kanda and pretending like I'm a Sikh man, and then all of a sudden somebody comes up and something gets challenged where I either gotta stick to my faith or I gotta go try to win a match, right? Which one, right? If I'm strong about my faith and I know the reason why I'm growing I got my hair all wrapped up and I got my beard and the whole entire bit, like I'm saying, to hell with you and your match, right? We'll figure out a different way, but this is kind of who I am. This is the life that I've chose. This is whatever. This is whatever you want to call it. So back to that, it's like, there's a lot of young dudes that are rocking. There's a lot of people in general that are rocking dreads for fashion and not understanding that it's it's a liberty. It's a spiritual sign. It's your inner beliefs coming out. And so when you have that, you're going to attract a lot of attention. Now, America. When I say America, I'm talking about Canada, the U.S., Mexico, Central America, South America. It's a racist nation, period, right? Period. That's not a problem. That I don't think that. No, I believe in my lifetime we will never see the end to racism, what we call racism, in my lifetime, right? And I plan to live to 100, right? Maybe I won't make it, but that's my goal, was 100. So, we got another 60 years to go. I don't feel that the way things are rolling anyway, like I'm 40 years old, the stuff that I see right now that is going out there, when I was in high school, that was out there. When I was born, the same things were happening. When my dad was in high school, my dad didn't go to high school, but anyway, he's high school age, the same things were happening. when he was born. The same thing, my grandfather. You know what I mean? I don't see it happening. So with the idea with the dreads is like, okay, Andrew, if you're going to be doing the thing with the dreads, you got to understand that you're going to be catching a lot of heat for that, and you're going to have to make some choices. You got to be, if you're going to be rocking dreads, and it kind of bugs me when I see it. I see a lot of people wearing it. It kind of bugs me, but it kind of doesn't. But if you're going to be doing that, you got to understand that you are going to catch attention, and it's supposed to be something of strong belief. And so if your belief is strong, then you're going to come up to a point where you're going to meet somebody who's racist, and they're going to say to you, you need to cut it or forfeit the match, and you're going to say, you can take that mat roll up and stick it up, whatever. But I'm not. This is not being cut. This is the reason why I'm wearing this. I'm a lion. I'm a soldier. Like whatever the deal that you want to make it. And so, that's kind of what it has to be. This situation though is not, like I said, it's not as clear cut, black and white as it is. It's there's so many mixtures to it. Is it a thing where, you know what, this is a racist act of somebody who's, in power? Well, all the evidence is there. The evidence is stacked up to say, look, here's kind of what you said before. Here's all the different things that's leading up to this match where, because of your past now, people, and because of the present situation, what everything's happening, older white guy, young black male, this is the evidence. So I don't know. We haven't heard statements from the referee. I think for me, I'd love to hear statements from the referee and from the kid and from the coach. Outside of that, I don't want to hear lawyers and this and that. I want to hear like the people who are involved say, this is how it went down. This is truly how it went down. Like, you know what I mean? I want to hear from the coach. Like, what did you guys did you guys talk about it before? Was it a discussion coming into the tournament? Is a discussion coming into the season? Like, what was the prep like when that incident happened? Was it like you looked at him and he looked at you and you're like, see, that's, we talked about it, right? So now we got to deal with it, right? Did you guys pre-plan it? Were you like, coach, look, if it comes down to it, I got to cut my hair. I'll cut my hair so we can win, right? Like, was it a situation? Because, outside of that, like it's, maybe because I also hate to see the wrestling world come under fire. I mean, we need to clean up some of the garbage that's in the wrestling world, but I hate to see it come under fire like that, because now it's like the most beautiful sport in the world is being thrown out there as like, it's just being thrown out there. Like, it's like this dirty laundry in the sport, like, and the sport overall is not like that. But the world is like that right now. So, I would love to hear really from, I'd love to hear from Andrew, man. Like you're 15 years old, shoot, jump on a video. I mean, I guess there's some legal stuff going on right now. I mean, it's US, you guys, the legal stuff. But I'd like to hear from him. The coach, same thing. Like, the referee. Here's how it went down in my eyes. Coach, here's how it went down in my eyes. And Andrew, here's how it went down. Like, I want to hear that. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of you guys out there too who want to hear that, because that's really what we should be getting. I mean, outside of the wrestling world, I don't know, but I feel inside the wrestling world, we need to hear it from these guys. Like, okay, this is how it went down, right? And like I said, it's not as black and white as it is. And if it comes out and the referee is like, look, like this is, this little black dude who stepped up here with these dreads and he knows he shouldn't be wearing these dreads. So I was like, to hell with that. You're not going to be, But, so he got suspended. Now, did he get suspended because of him saying, look, you got to either cut it or wrestle, or did he get suspended because of the heat of the situation and what he had said before, right? Personally, I feel, regardless of my stand on everything, I feel that if it was because of something that he had said before, now we got another problem, right? Because that's something that was 2016 that he was said that. Well, he should have dealt that in 2016. Now, if he's saying, look, you got to cut your hair, you got to, hear your ultimatums, right? Well, why suspend the dude? Because he's upholding the, he's just saying, look, this is ultimatums. I didn't make you cut your hair. You went over there and did it. Like, you had somebody who is your parent, basically, right? Because that's what a coach is. Like, you're responsible, like you're the legal guardian of this young male. So you had that person in your corner to say, no, we're not going to be doing this. And you guys made that choice, right? And this coach should, it has a certification, so he should be knowledgeable enough in his position. He's responsible enough in his position to be able to say, based on the rules, we're not going to do this. Here's step A. Here's what we're going to do. Step B. Step, whatever the deal. If not, I would like to see that coach removed from his position as well. Fair is fair, man. Like, if not, like that means that you can't handle this, but you should be stepping down and go be an assistant then and kind of redevelop it, right? So, that's kind of what it is, right? Like I don't know, man. I mean, you guys can figure it out, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Let's get some discussion going on about this, because it's not gonna be the last, right? I mean, I know if this reaches out to 1,000 wrestlers, we all seen people cutting hair at a tournament. All of us have seen, and if you haven't seen anybody cutting hair at a tournament, you haven't wrestled long enough. Stick around, you'll see it. Yeah, but so outside of that, man, I just want to say, leave it on another note. Never quit. That's the thing, right? Never quit. There's no quitting none of this. For a lot of you young wrestlers or parents that might be watching this, outside of that, make sure that you have a long-term game plan if you're involved in whether it be wrestling or any other sport, man. Have a long-term game plan. Don't have that short-term, okay, I'm gonna do this. I know there's a lot of guys aiming for Olympics or aiming for professional levels. Okay, that's great, right? But have a long-term game plan. Like, we like to have that, this is what I'm gonna be when I'm 50. Like, that's kind of the mentality you should be thinking. Here's what I'm gonna be. This is what I'm gonna be when I'm 50. Here's what I'm gonna be doing. Here's where I'm gonna be living. I gotta have a family. I'm gonna be single, right? You gotta have that long-term game plan for your life when you are like 50 years old, right? That's what you should be planning. Sports is a small part of it. It's a very, very small part of that, because if you had that long-term game plan, like let's say right now that you or your son or whatever, you're 12 years old, right? And you're saying, okay, 50. Wow, that's like 30 something years. Well, how long is sport? Then you put that on a line. How long is sport going to be a part of that 30 plus years? Right? I think it's 38 years, whatever, you guys do the math. All right. How long? Maybe 5, maybe 8. If you're really, really, really involved, 10. Okay. And that's going to take you to, most guys in sports are done for them at like 18, 19, right? Let's say 18. Majority of people. A small few, a very, very small few go on after that. Very small few. I think it's like 1 or 3%, something like that, go on after that. So, and then after that, like the percentage gets so incredibly small. So incredibly small after that. So I'm talking about between 18 and 25 years old. It's like, I don't know what the percent, but it's like, less than half a percent will be involved after that. And even smaller, actually. I'm being generous with that number. So have a long-term game plan for your life, right? Have a long-term game plan. And sport is supposed to be that vehicle that kind of helps you with that. I mean, you're involved in sport, okay, so it's going to help you with your health and wellness for the rest of your life, right? But what do you want to, what kind of life do you want to have when you are actually 50 years old, right? You don't want to be going through and then have to restart again later on when you realize, man, I've been chasing this. There's a lot of guys who are still out trying to live it, in their 30s and their 40s, right? Still trying to live that, or they try to relive it then back through their kids. So have a long term. Like, here's what I'm gonna be doing when I'm 50. Okay, at 30, here's what I'm gonna be doing. Here's how I'm gonna be living. Here's what my life is like. Draw out an actual picture of your life. When you're 50, what are you gonna look like? Things like that. At 30, right? At 25, you're gonna be still in school. You're gonna be done if you're still in school. Why? You're 25 years old. At 20, right? 20 years old, I'm gonna be in college, university. Okay, which one? Are you going to be playing sports or you're not going to be playing sports, right? If you're whatever, have one that's like a 1-year game plan from now. In 1 year, if you're going to be graduated, okay, I'll be graduated. You're going to be still in sport. Okay, you're going to be in school doing sport. Okay, not if you're going to be, let's say you're in your 9th grade right now, you're going to be 10th grade. Here's what I've accomplished in that 1 year, a 3-year plan. So you got to start to look at life from a long term and start to break that down. And so I want to do a lot more videos on that, as far as the planning aspect. Like I said, it's about the principles of sport, right? Like you can Like, you can have all the techniques in wrestling all you want, or techniques in basketball, football, or whatever, training methods and everything else. But at the end of the day, like, there's some principles that you cannot ignore. And I believe personally, from my experience, and helping, I don't know how many athletes, it's having that long-term game plan, right? So whether you are an athlete or a parent who's you're a parent who's extremely involved with your kids' development, right? Don't just be so focused on sport. Have that long-term development from when they're 50 years old. Here's why I'm investing in them, so that when they're 50, this is what their life is going to be like. If you're a kid and let's say your parents aren't like you're like me. My parents didn't I had no involvement in my sport life. So if that's the case, right, I want to be able to help you out and guide you through this. You can always email me at garfieldgairy@gmail.com. So that's Gary, Gairy @gmail.com. I'm actually going to create like a Coach Gary or Coach Gmail account so that you can actually just email me any questions that you have. So if you're like me, who I didn't have that involvement, just really have that long-term game plan for you. And so that's, I guess this is like a kickoff that I want to, that this is the direction I want to start taking things in. Like I said, now I'm retired now from, only, I guess my kids are getting involved in the sport of wrestling. So if they want me to coach them, awesome. We'll have fun with this. If they don't want me to coach them, hey, great. We'll find you the best, environment for you to kind of develop in and have some fun with it. And so what I'll do is I will, with you as a parent or as an athlete, I will share with you the game plan that I've used with countless amount of athletes that have become multiple national champions, NCAA athletes, CIS athletes, successful athletes after were they entrepreneurs, doctors, just so I'll share with you that game plan. So I'll move through it slowly with you guys, and I'll just start setting up things like websites and things like that, just to kind of it's just been something that's been on my mind for a while, but I figured I might as well just do it. You got one life to live, and so I'll share that with you. I'll share that with parents, especially if you're a parent, especially you don't have a lot of time, or if I think same thing with like my parents. They just didn't have they didn't know the system, right? They just didn't know the system. There's tons and tons of parents, especially now, like, kids are so involved in it and they look at sports. There's a ton of parents that look at sports as like, this is the only way to education. I can't afford education for my kids. This is the only way. Well, if you're that parent, I want to help you, right? It's a friend of mine, probably the most successful development coach right now happening. He kind of said it like this, like most people think that they're going to get a scholarship. Scholarship is something that you plan for a scholarship, right? And I've always told, my athletes, I'd go for the academic scholarship, right? I feel like scholarship should be the fallback, like the cherry on top of everything. So if you don't know anything about the system, I'll help you with that. We'll put up a game plan. If you kind of like want, if you're like, okay, look, how do I work with my son or my daughter in sports or outside of sports? Okay, I'll help you with that. If you have any questions, or if there's anything on your mind, don't email me like hey man, I didn't like what you said. Well, I guess you could email me that, or you just throw them in the post. But yeah, you can just email me any questions you have. That's Garfield Gairy. That's Gairy. It's Scottish. So it's Garfield Gairy @gmail.com. You can throw me an email if you have any questions. I do have like some templates that I created in the past through our academy, and I'll be glad to share some of that information with you. I definitely, I just haven't figured out exactly what I'm going to be calling it. Definitely, we're going to have an academy going, and that's something to help develop. My son was asking me the other day, hey, come we don't have an African wrestling academy? Maybe it'll be something like that. Who knows, right? But anyway, stay tuned. I was able to get this off my chest, kind of what it's all about. But I'm sure there'll be a lot more for us to talk about. Outside of that, man, like my great friend Nick Walla likes to say, make it a great day.